Shalom, everybody. I'm Yatzvah.
And tonight we are going to be covering Daniel's chapter 2. What we decided, we're going to cover Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7 because both of those chapters of the book of Daniel deal with the exact same prophecy. And this installment will be the first of a series that we're going to entitle Apocalyptic Blitz. In other words, our plan for starting with tonight, launching this video of Daniel is to go from Daniel's, for the most part, all of the apocalyptic books in the scriptures. We want to go ahead and cover Daniel's chapter 2, Daniel's chapter 7, which we're going to cover simultaneously this evening. Then we're going to hit Daniel's chapter 8 on its own. Daniel's chapter 9 from verse 24 to the end, verse 24 to 27. Then we're going to jump on over because there's not a whole lot apocalyptically spoken of in chapter 10. So we're going to jump right over to Daniel chapter 11. All of 11, not certain verses are left out, certain verses in. We're going to break down all of Daniel chapter 11, Daniel chapter 12. And when we finish with the book of Daniel, the intention is to go to the apocalyptic chapters that are found in the book of 2nd Exodus in the Apocrypha. Okay, a lot of people don't understand what the Apocrypha is. This book is actually a compilation of books that was taken out of the original King James Version Bible. We do have Bibles also that contain the Apocrypha in it. They're actually written in the Old English calligraphy, and if you're not accustomed to that, it's a lot of work to have to deal with while you're teaching. So like I said, out of the Apocrypha, the book of 2nd Exodus, we're going to be dealing with the apocalyptic chapters of chapter 11, chapter 12, chapter 13, chapter 15, and chapter 16. And then from there we're going to move on to Revelations. And we'll probably start off with Revelation chapter 8. It could be 8, 9, or that is definitely going to be chapter 8. Revelation chapter 8, the beginning or the end of that chapter speaks about about John the Revelator having been given a roll to eat, and that he would prophesy before many kings and tongues. And it said that there was an angel flying through proclaiming about the 3 woes that had yet to sound, referring to World War I, World War II, and World War III, also known as Armageddon, in that very same book. So like I said, all the apocalyptic chapters of the book of Daniel, each of the apocalyptic chapters of the book of 2nd Exodus and Revelation chapter 8 to the end, all of the apocalyptic chapters. And I don't know how long that's going to take us because we really don't plan on rushing through it. We actually want to bring you not just the scriptural knowledge, but at the same time history, using archaeology, using the geography, using all the sources that we possibly can, visual aids to help you to see that the scriptures that we're bringing to you, the breakdown is what it is we're breaking down to you. So we're going to begin with Daniel chapter 2. Now what we're going to do with Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 2 is pretty long, a very long chapter. So we're going to read the first few verses of Daniel chapter 2, and then we're going to go right to the meat of the chapter. I want you to go ahead and start off at Daniel chapter 2, and you're going to start off at verse 1, okay? Go ahead.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 1. And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him.
In other words, Nebuchadnezzar was the king of the Babylonians during the time that they conquered Jerusalem, 586 BC. All right, this was during his reign. Go ahead.
Verse 2. The king commanded to call the magicians.
In other words, he had a dream. You know how it is. You have a dream. And the dream, it startles you, it terrifies you, might be a nightmare. But when you wake up, you lose it. And this is what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. He had a dream that troubled him, and right off the bat, he woke him up out of his sleep, and then he literally lost it. Couldn't remember, not even the details of it. Couldn't even vaguely remember what it was about. Go ahead.
And the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation.
So here's what's going on. For the most part, and let me say, this shows you, when it says the magicians, the astrologers, and the sorcerers and Chaldeans, these were actual offices that were held in the Babylonian, all ancient kingdoms. That was for the most part their cabinet. Today we refer to a president or a head of state, a prime minister's cabinet. These were the actual cabinet members of the king of Babylon. They were true sorcerers. They dealt in witchcraft. They dealt in what people today refer to as the occult, or the black magic, or the magic arts. Here's the whole point, so that we can go right to the meat of the chapter, is that these sorcerers, these astrologers, all of these choice people of his kingdom couldn't break down his dream. It wasn't only that they couldn't break down his dream, and you can do this reading on your own. You read from verses 4 all the way down to about verse 15. What happened was Nebuchadnezzar was so frustrated with the fact that these sorcerers and astrologers could not break down. It wasn't that they couldn't break down his dream. He wanted them to tell the dream first. In other words, if you're really a sorcerer, you can tell me the dream. He wanted them to tell him the dream first, then break it down to him. So they went back and forth with the king, pleading for him, petitioning for him to tell them the dream, and then of course they could break it down. So the king finally saw that they were stalling for time, and he said, if you can't do it, we're going to basically put you to death. The house is going to be destroyed. The whole nine. In other words, they were going to lose, not just lose their position, but their life and their possession. So it turned out that they couldn't do it. And then I want you to pick it up from verse 10. All right? Go ahead.
The Chaldeans answered before the king and said,
this is after the king told them to for them to tell him the dream first, and the interpretation of the dream after they told him the dream. Continue.
Verse 10. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter.
He said there's no man. Basically, they all said there's no man that can do that. Continue.
Therefore, there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean.
He said no man on earth can do that, and therefore you can search the books of history. No king, no ruler, no lord has ever asked such a thing of a magician to be able to tell a king the dream that they forgot and break it down. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And it's the rare thing that the king required.
And he said, this isn't common. This is rare for you to ask this of us. Go ahead.
And there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods.
Listen, he said, when he said the gods, it's written with a little g, he's talking about the spirits. There's nobody that can do that. The only entities that can perform that feat are the spirits. The entities of the spirit world are the gods. Go ahead.
Whose dwelling is not with flesh.
Yeah, who don't dwell in our realm, in our dimension, whatever word you choose to use. Go ahead.
Verse 12. For this cause, the king was angry and very furious and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
So when you read the scriptures, if you read chapter 1, this is chapter 2 we break it down. If you read chapter 1 of Daniel, you find out that among those wise men of Babylon, Daniel from Judah, the Israelites, had been taken into captivity with 3 of his companions, along with all the exiles. But when you refer to the exiles, you're talking about the people from the southern kingdom, Judah, that were taken and removed and went into Babylon into captivity in the year 586 BC. So in that group, the Babylonians hand chose a few of the Israelites that were known for their wisdom and actually gave them quarter among the wise men. They would receive positions among the wise men of Babylon. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And a decree went forth that the wise men should be slain. And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain.
So when they say Daniel and his fellows, you might have heard about the account